what I'm saying? Hey, look, when I came in the system, I was at Beaumont, my first penitentiary I went to. And I prophesied to the fellas. I said, man, in 10 years, these people's gonna start pulling names out their hat like a rat, you know what I mean? Seeing what you're doing because you're gonna cut all the
Welcome to I Got Something to Say. Good afternoon.
Life is good.
Would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, Clift the Gardner, from Twin Cities. I'm a know me homie, but I'm so me. North side, south side, Minneapolis.
Yeah. How you doing today? Good afternoon to you. It's MLK Day. It's rightfully so. You're in the studio. Would you tell the individuals why you're here?
Yeah, Martin had a dream, and I got a vision.
Okay, this is I Got Something to Say, and we're the voice of the voiceless. I'm gonna give you the platform. Go on, tell us why you're. Tell us what you want the individuals to know. Open platform. You can say whatever you need to say. I first met you. You really intrigued me. Your life story. A lot of people don't know the Gardner is almost just like the mechanic background. You're the mechanic, but realistically, you open your mouth and you just start dropping gems. So go ahead, hit us.
What's interesting about being the Gardner, one of the most interesting things about being the Gardner is that the students and the people that we work with, you know, I'd say like maybe out of 60 students in the summer, maybe 2 or 3 of them are going to garden. Maybe. We've had a couple years where maybe like 15 of them would. Possibly. You know, on their own in the future. Maybe not a career. But they learn that, you know, the necessity of making their own food. And other ones, they understand that, you know, it's important that people do this for them, but it's not for them. It's how they think. You know, and I always tell everybody that, you know, if the world ends tomorrow, or if all of our stores burn down, what you gonna do? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Then all of our stores burn down.
Mm-hmm. What are you gonna do?
So, but with that said, I mean, what I got to say. Something I got to say about it is that when you get somebody into a space and you talk to them, you start to find out that they're more than what they even understand that they are.
True.
And you even can help them and guide them and mentor them and be mentored in the process as well, because no teacher is not a student, no student is not a teacher. Mm-hmm. But with that said, to help people get into the spaces that they could be strong in, right? And so as Clift the Gardner, knowing it was my strong suit, and I knew I could, if I got someone into that medium, I could help them find another way.
Clift the Gardner, how did you find him? Because you weren't always Clift the Gardner. Mm-hmm. It wasn't something that you know what I'm saying? It was something that you grew into. And men, it takes us a while to figure out who we are as people. And you probably would have never suspected you were Clift the Gardner until it was brought to you. So can you walk me through the story of how you became Clift the Gardner?
You know, I sum it all up with this is that, God is good. Yeshua is real. And he is not only the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, and the Dude of Dudes, but he is the Master Gardener. He's the Master Physician. He's the Master Educator. He's the Master everything. So with that said, when I found him to be my master, and in the process what ended up happening was he led me down the path to become a gardener. Mm-hmm. But it was more of like a civil rights movement. It was more of a for us to recognize our humanity. Mm-hmm. Okay, because I was something that I am not. And when I became something that I am not, it did a lot of bad things to others.
Mm-hmm.
But when I became who I'm supposed to be, I'm a life giver. I'm not a life taker, right? I'm a healer. I'm not somebody who makes systems and people sick.
Mm-hmm.
I am a Pisces. I flow in water well, right? But I'm also good with land. I know how to carve out land, right? And so there's all these things that where I would have never touched dirt in my upside down kingdom, right? But when I got into the righteous, when I got into the right side up kingdom, I found out how in love with soil I really am. And one of the things I learned along the way from a woman by the name of Heidi Highland, she's like the gardening extraordinaire of the Northern Hemisphere of the United States of America. Jolly ho, Heidi. Jolly ho. But she told me one day I was in her Heidi's Lifestyle grow house in Corcoran, Minnesota, on the brim of Maple Grove, out, right before it goes to Rockford and Rogers.
Rochester or
Rogers is this way,
okay,
and Rockford is this way at the 1050 split. I lived in this white farmhouse on an acre, and I was bringing students from Minneapolis that were homeless out there. That I was meeting through the gardening program. And after getting to know their friends and being in the streets gardening, people seeing Clift the Gardner, I found out when the children were homeless to bring them out. So with that said, me and my children went over to the grow house to get my check. Because I also worked there. That's another story for another day. But she said, Cliff, come over here and look at something. I said, okay. So I walked over there and she said, what's happening to our monarch butterflies? I said, what do you mean? I see them while I'm gardening. She's like, but you don't see as many as you used to. I said, well, what do you mean? She's like, they're one of the most magnificent creatures in the world, and they're disappearing fast. We already have a long extinction list. Is this really something we want to see extinct? And I was like, absolutely not. I'd love for my children to see a monarch butterfly, right? And my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren, and so forth, right? Because they're majestic, and they're beautiful, they're wonderful. So, and at the Michael Chaney farm that I run, 50 acres of land in Shell Lake, Wisconsin, to build a place where no black man has a place to reboot in this whole world. This place will be a place, right? And so we're building a 10,000 square foot earthship out there. But in order for me to go learn how to build an earthship, I had a pop-up camper that was donated to me, but the pop-up wouldn't pop up. And I found out the cable was snapped, so I had to go underneath and figure out how to fix this cable, and I'd never done pulley systems before, right? I mean, I've worked with enough mechanic and engineering that I figured it out, went and got the right spool. But while I was down there, I got this thread of metal that just went in my finger and wrapped around and then ripped, right? And it was just like all the words that I said, they were so holy. Okay. And then I heard in my heart, come out from underneath there. I want to show you something. So I did. I heard it. Like, you know what I mean? So I came out from underneath, and Michael Chaney's land hasn't been touched in over 30 years, so it's just like native land, right? I come out from underneath in this gust of wind. Tell me there's not a creator. I'll call you a liar, because you just don't know. You never had a relationship until you had a relationship with the creator. And I see this hit the field, and all of a sudden, monarch butterflies flying everywhere. This is 2021, right? This is July 2021. They haven't taken flight yet. There's, wow. And I just realized the whole field is milkweed for the first time. And I was like, I have a monarch farm. So we named it the Monarch Farms, right? But rewind, 2016, Heidi Highland, Cliff, do you want your children, grandchildren? Yes, Heidi, I do. She said, well, my friend from the University of Minnesota that has started to see the decreased population of monarch butterflies did something about it, and she found that it is the the mowing mechanisms in the ditches of state highways that are mowing up these monarch butterflies because there's so much milkweed that's in there and it's fresh because it's always being mowed. So they get attracted to it to go lay all their cocoons and whatever, and all the caterpillars are just being slaughtered, utterly slaughtered. Bless you. So why we're Gesundheit. Salute. So with that said, I mean, it's president. It's colonialism at its highest form. We're dealing with EPA crisis. We just went to something called the Urban Farm Conference, something that Michael Chaney founded and I co-founded with him. And all these white people in this room celebrating and glorifying this slogan of urban farming, but not recognizing the ones who toiled with the soil and sweat, blood, and tears, going through the atrocities of North Minneapolis in the meantime, being first responders before first responders that wouldn't come in, right? I mean, like, bringing people from Teen Challenge that were sticking their fingers in bullet wounds when they were trying to learn what forgiveness and mercy is. Oh, that makes someone cry out for mercy and forgiveness. Also, suddenly Yeshua becomes a name they know. Please let them live. You know, and when trauma happens to somebody, it becomes mass psychosis. When multiple people go through this. Yes. So Clift the Gardner is something more than just a garden, right? What I found is it put me into a position to undo what I've done.
Right. Yes.
And that's who the opposite was.
Yes.
The opposite one was, well, my father's name is Gary. And they used to call him Gary Gilmore, because no one killed more than Gary Gilmore from Minneapolis to Chicago. He's one of the leading sex traffickers and abusers and violators for many gangs because he has a bad crack cocaine habit. Every time that he has murdered somebody and been caught for this, he goes to the VFW. They call the precinct and they say, "We trained him to kill, not to fight. Let him go." They put him off into a VFW somewhere. They drug him up. They get him back to normal, release him on the streets, and then he turns up again. And it's a wash, rinse, repeat. We had to deal with this nigga. Okay. Don't maybe get on my Cat Williams. Don't maybe go from Clift the Gardner, Cliff Williams to Cat Williams. Okay? Because I will call this Negro out. But we ain't going to do that today. On my Cat Williams, okay? But with that said, I love my daddy, but I found out, and I'm going to go real because I got something to talk about.
Got something to say. You're on the right show.
And so, my daddy was to be saved from sex trafficking. This is how I became Clift the Gardner. And so my grandmother sent him down to Uncle Hershey, Great Uncle Hershey in the South, because my grandmother was a cotton-picking Negro. And she escaped to the North when a taskmaster found her fainted in the field and poured water on her and said, "Nigga, you better go north with the rest of them niggas or you're going to die in this field down here." Pregnant with my daddy. Right? Pregnant with me. Isn't that what the DNA says? It goes 2 generations back inside the seed inside the eggs of the woman. So with that said, I was in those fields with her, passing out with her, right? And so with that said, when my grandmother came north, Janet, of the Cowans, which makes us Cherokee, right? Her family on the black side of descendant of slave freemen said, "We'll send him down here if you don't want him to become a sex trafficker." And so he went down there, and not knowing that her brother had become a sex trafficker himself, and turned my daddy out by having his own daughter rape my dad. So my dad becomes the 4-piece suit, gators. Damn. Pied Piper. He was clean as a whistle. Right? My daddy was, damn. You know, when he came in, it was like Andre 3000 times Daddy Mac. You know, with some pun, sprinkled with a whole lot of Tupac.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? And so, like, when he ride around his Cadillac Brougham, he couldn't buy his own child some trunks, but he could trick out.
Yes, sir.
So, but with that said, when he came back, my grandma was like, they're gonna kill you. They just got done burning down Plymouth Avenue from the murder of Martin Luther King.
Here we go, right
Fitting.
there. First day. Yep, we got it.
Fitting.
Today's the day.
They burned down Plymouth, not us. The same way the Boogaloo Boys burned down 3rd Precinct, they burned down Plymouth. If there's a restroom, is there somewhere that it can be used?
Yes.
Upstairs?
No,
Right
no,
here.
no.
You want to take a break?
No. In the case of.
Yeah.
But so with that said, I'm not gonna do no potty dance on camera. No, I ain't like that. No. You know, but so my daddy then went to the military at the age of 16, just fresh 16. World wars are going on.
Mm-hmm.
So she sends him out to the Marines, and when he gets out the bus, you fucking nigger.
Mm-hmm.
Within 2 weeks, a group of white men came in the room and tied my daddy down, and they raped him one after the other.
Mm-mm-mm.
And could you imagine what that would do
Yes.
to a man like that?
Yeah.
So he went through boot camp like a soldier, and he became a United States Marine, and a cold-blooded killer, cold-blooded assassin. But after his inauguration or whatever, or his graduation, he was riding into town one day, and he says to some brothers, he said, "These men did this to me. How much do I owe you to do worse to them?" They said, "It's on the house." Sorry, Mr. Williams, for what's happened to you. We've heard about these things. Some upper-up black men, Negroes, in the United States military, some officers. And on the way back to town, they said, "Hey, so-and-so, pull the bus over." "Yes, sir." "Everyone except for you, get off the bus." "Yes, sir." Keep driving. And my dad sat there while these men were mutilated by these Negro officers for my daddy. And my dad learned something. So when he came back to the streets of Minneapolis, holy shit. And then he met my mom. A Finnish white woman from Hopkins, Minnesota. And she was one of the first women to have a mixed child in the Western Hemisphere of Minneapolis. So when Spike Moss, fitting, was marching to the West to save the Negro children from being persecuted for going to the Western white schools, the Northern white schools, and standing out there militant to make sure that they got in and out, my dad and my mother had come together, united, and had Jamila, one of the first children born mixed in the Western Hemisphere, if not the first. My mother was excommunicated. They lived in Richfield, in South Minneapolis. It was the murder capital of the world. My father went upstairs and had my brother Ray. And she helped him become a better pimp. But then went downstairs and my mother said, "I met Sonia." And he said, "Well, what you gonna do about it?" And so he invited her to marriage and married her and then had me. Then beat her to death when she challenged life in front of us. And by the grace of God, she raised to life in front of us. She was dead. That ashtray killed her. But then by chance. I mean, we didn't know our daddy then until we were 3 and a half. I'm not even 1 yet. I remember it clear as day. And I think it was 3 when we met him again. By that time, she had another Negro in the house by the name of Stan Kelly, who just so happened to be my father's childhood nemesis, arch nemesis, from across the alley. Just so happened to be. And so when I did get introduced to my dad, I became the medium of a whole lot of Richard Pryor and Dave Chappelle, Cat Williams mixed together, right? I mean, you just name it, you know. So I had leading barbers of the North Side cutting my hair, telling me I'm a black man. I had, you know, black family. My grandmother was a powerful black woman that made it off the cotton fields, you know, and became a predominant figure in the community. And I think my dad, 6 sisters, 1 brother. Pretty big family range. They became known as Gary Gilmore and Ray Kirby. You know, Ray Kirby ended up going to prison over some going AWOL in the prison or in military because he couldn't take getting off the bus and having that. My dad didn't tell him everything that happened. Right. And I don't know why, but he didn't. So my uncle ended up going to prison, in and out, hung out with the Bloods from the South Side a lot in the prisons. Dealt with the Crips from the North. He was a chess master, so that he, you know, played chess. And through the years, as I was being raised, going between these worlds, I mean, I was raised up when my area was the murder capital of the world. I had a song that I released when I was 20 years old called Mystery and Murder. But it was from mystery to murder, Appolis, different sites lead to different lives and adapt too quick. But we ain't having this. Like rappers, the streets are full of rage and ravageness for murder, Appolis, different sites lead to different lives and adapt too quick. We ain't having this rage and ravageness. Where drugs and manipulation run shit, you better pick up and run with. Don't get left behind and slumping. Get on wild and crunked in. Come up and start talking about something. Notice your knowledge is little, start flunking. But the grade A students start running. Whoever said pimping was done with. They say pimping's a must in. From mystery to murder, Appolis, different sites lead to different lives. Watch your back, you might get stabbed by somebody tripe. Pat on the back, fiend a friend with a knife. Off my trees, you fly like a kite. Off my styles, you run off and bite some little mini seeds. That would be nice. Come on, world, fill my cup of ice. Come on, girl, and kiss on these dice. Tell me, people, you gamble your life. Get on your knees and scream, I will might. The whole world and drain it on sight. Before my family, I will fight with all my might. From mystery to murder, Appolis, different sites need a different life. Adapt too quick, but we ain't having this. Like rappers, the streets are full of rage and ravage.
Beautiful.
So with that said, I mean, but that's that's how it was. It's because that's what I saw. That's what I experienced.
Of course.
It's what we live.
That's what we do. Yes.
But in Brooklyn Center and in Faribault and all these hidden areas where crime and refugees, and it was like dirt, back to those high walls. It's America's dirty little secret. What's going on? These ghettos, these projects, these tinker toys that they please, these police stations, these brutalities, these. So Clift the Gardner. I lived a life of crime trying to out my dad. I wanted to become more than Gary Gilmore. I didn't want to be little Gary. So I joined the cartel. Hey, that's upping them, right? And I believed I was my own. I found out that I still did not own myself, right, in the cartel. I was making millions of dollars. I joined when I was 20-ish. And went down to Arizona, met one person, was introduced to another, got the pipeline going. Then my little brother went down there to live with my sister, and I think he was 12 years old, and he started juking at the parties, you know. It's how we raised him, little DOG. And so then, or little Mr. Magic, you know, he always make it happen. But with that said, he ended up getting the connect to the cartel. And so when I met the cartel, it ended up being the Juarez twins, then so-and-so to so-and-so. I dealt with so-and-so most of the time. But so-and-so always wanted to take me out, and every now and then so-and-so would pop up and have me come meet them and bind Mexican borders, right? And people from Minnesota came that were white, that would help me import, you know, to the state of Minnesota and across the Midwest. So with that said, on the way back one round, I put in a lot of work. I was tired of it, and the music was not reflecting what I wanted to see in life.
Okay.
I had once accepted Yeshua as my personal Lord and Savior, and this is not it.
Mm-hmm.
I never picked up that book, and I never read it. This is not it. I knew this is not it. I never heard his voice, like, clearly. But then as I look back, I'm like, there were times.
You heard that, yeah, something.
Right?
Yeah.
I wasn't familiar to it. And everyone will say that.
Mm-hmm.
And they call it the gut.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely.
And they call it the conscience.
Yeah.
They call it like all these things.
The grandma was standing in that field back in the, you know, it's that you were there, so she had something that was in your blood that transferred down to you
laminin.
In that DNA.
Laminin.
Yeah. You heard it. You just didn't know what it was.
Yep.
We all hear it.
Out of my mama.
Mm-hmm.
Who once had it. Who her mama. It's a worldwide thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Even as Spike said to my fiance tonight, he said, and when she recognizes that I'm her grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, no, I already know. Mm-hmm. You know, like, but it's like, cause it's that ripple.
Yep.
Of DNA.
Yes.
But with that said, yes. And so I was starting to realize this ain't it. And so people love this song that I released called Dope Man. And the song Dope Man was a new blend. It was, but we called it Legal Dope. And we had this music video plot of like suitcases and espionage all throughout the world and showing up at different venues and shaking hands. But at the end of when they came and busted us and they opened these briefcases, they just found like contracts. You know, what kind of spread of contracts all over the world, legal dope.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Legal dope full of hope, but not drug dealing. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, but it was this whole new wave of like, we got to become the entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Right? And so I changed my music up.
Mm-hmm.
And it had this other song called Riddles and Poetry, some bells and some chimes, a little bit of bass. Now I gotta get mines each and every day. I wake up to find I got my time on my side. So got the grocery ride. Sometimes going out in the middle of the night, commit crimes that could run through your minds. But we're the kinds of niggas that you could find familiar, you know, with the ride souped up, you know, whatever. I mean, it was like trying to lead people away from that.
Yes.
But how do you do that? So I had to really plot. Like Tupac was a strategist.
Mm-hmm.
And he was our hero. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm a rose that grew from concrete. You're a rose that grew from concrete.
Poetry,
right?
Poetry,
And so it's like, when we recognize, because he said, I did not come to change the world. I came to change the mind that would change the world. And I'm like, well, my mind has changed.
Yes.
But then I get caught up. My 8 quick trips out of state, 7 cakes to bake, 6 other niggas can relate, 5 niggas, 4 clips, 2 whips, 1 chance to debate. I got no chance to debate. Bitches out here catching cases. Government tipping late nights, they got me seeing faces. Got me giving judgment late nights. I'm having ticks after pulling licks. Phoning old acquaintances. Cowards committing treason. Lies saying that's alright, that's tight. My woman about to be lacing. Anyway, but it was 8 quick trips out of state. I had this plan, right? And there was only so many more trips I was going to take. And I was rapping about it. And I was telling real to life music because I thought the Hot Boys were telling us the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, we did, yeah.
I thought Bad Boys was telling me the truth.
Yeah, we did. We all did.
No, Pac was telling us the truth.
That's why they got rid of him.
Public Enemy used to.
Yeah, tell us the truth.
Tell us the truth.
Yeah.
Right?
Did, yeah.
There were some real ones.
Eric B. and Rakim.
There's some real ones, right? That got filthy. Noriega, he tried to warn us. Hey, they brought me to the last room, and I was like, I could do all that, but this, my niggas, I just can't. And so he started the show Drunk Talk.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Which we got to get Noriega in here and vice versa. Right?
Yes, sir.
But with that said, the fact of the matter is because industry was not going to get down with the Illuminati. Not everybody was. Lil Nas X did. A man came to me at a place called IHOP. We ain't talking Pancake House, but they'll flip you. They'll flip you.
Definitely.
Okay? And I met some real ones. And when I was down there, I mean, if you go on my Facebook page, you could read what happened while I was there when I was introduced to Monica.
The singer Monica?
No. Just a different kind of singer.
Okay.
But while I was down there, this man by the name of Will Ford, who travels the world with something called the prayer kettle. And it's how we were freed from slavery.
Oh, news to me.
The woman who raised the created and raised the Confederate flag is when the Civil War began. And it was at that plantation.
Interesting.
But for around 400 years, this family from Africa kept crying out to Yeshua. They knew Yeshua before they made Negro churches. They knew, but they realized who they were calling on. When they started breaking down their language, they started to realize they were calling on Isa, on Yeshua. And it wasn't Islamic. It wasn't Islamic. It was precursor church. It was Ethiopian church. It was King Malik the First, the direct descendant of Solomon, right? And so with that said, King Malik the First was given upwards of 3 million human beings from the kingdom of Israel that moved with King Malik the First and his mother, Queen Markita, to the great continent of Ethiopia, not Africa. In the land of the kings in Nigeria were the descendants of some of the highest ranking families that came south to Africa that had blended so much that they became black themselves. Right?
Yeah, speak.
And so with that said, I mean, like, we have, if you go look in the walls, the temples that go down, not temples the temples that go down, it says that the Ethiopians were down there by day digging out these temples because they were told by the Ruach HaKodesh of Elohim to dig these holes. And so they did, and they did it with care, like as if they were building Egypt down, right? And by night, it says that these blue-like lasers, like the bottom of a flame, shot out into the skies at night, and they would go down there, and there's laser cuts that we can't mimic to this day in Ethiopia.
That's beautiful. Yep.
If you look at the Red Sea, or the Red Sea Dive or something like that. It's a movie about these Hebrew Ethiopians that were being slaughtered by Muslims, by radicalists, in all throughout Ethiopia. When this is the same way that the Anishinaabe and Dakota own this land, the Ethiopians own what we call Africa, the majority of it, right? But so when they're pinned down to this little region that we call Ethiopia and Eritrea and other stuff, these are the lands that owned everything. But while they went down here to kill the very ones that were left, that were purple, so black they're purple. Right? It's like you know, our blood is not red; it's purple. But these people are so black they're the rainbow people. They're purple, right? Which is the most magnificent color in the rainbow.
Beautiful,
right? But with that said, there's the Red Sea Dive. That's what it is. So the Red Sea Dive. There's a movie on this. It's a true story about saving, I think it was like 10,000 Ethiopians, bringing them back to Israel. It's Exodus. But with this said, that's who our people are. So Will Ford, his family are those people, because they were crying out to that God, and they cried out under this lid. So by day they cook, or they use it to wash the master's big daddy's house, right? Down there at the Lockett Farm in Louisiana. And then by night they would cook everybody's food for the encampment of slaves, you know, slave cottage villages and whatnot, where women could be plucked out in the middle of the night and used however.
Right.
And those children that are born could be sold like stock.
Yes.
So it's almost like an investment.
It was.
Right, to have mixed children. But so with that said, Will Ford's family then would use it to clean their clothes at night. And then they would take it and go off into the forest and put 12 stones under it, and they pray for the freedom of our people, to forgive us for whatever we did, wherever we went wrong, and to allow us to spread the word around the world of who he really is, to set us free, to show the world who you are, set us free. 400 years. 400 years, right? So that's when the war started, was at the Lockett Farm, that very place where the prayer kettle was. Fast forward, when I went there in 2016 to go tell them my testimony, right? Because Annette Bittner, this lady who just died, who was carrying the fire of House of Prayer from Minnesota, brought me down there to tell them what happened to me in my court cases.
Yes.
And so with that said, when I went down there, I met Will Ford, and he said, you are going to be used to even speak to Beyonce, and Jay-Z, and Lil Wayne, and Drake, and all these people. And when you tell them your story, he said, they're going to have to make a choice.
That's definitely.
And that's that.
Yeah.
And he said, get ready, because you're going to take the entire, what they call church, from hip-hop to IHOP,
Flip.
of intercession, holiness, offering, and prophecy. I don't even know what that means. I don't think any of us knows what that means. But I think it's to a level where it's like, it's almost on some Neo. No, not really. There's a point where nobody will pull you. No. When they got the gun at you, no, put it down. When I was at the George Floyd Square, and he said, Clift, this gun is more powerful than your Bible. He got locked up on the indictments. 10 to life. Brother Nate, white boy Nate. The blood.
Okay.
There's going to be a real power struggle in the prisons, because a lot of people got swept. A lot of different shot collars now. Streets and prisons, and right? It's going to be weird. And so they're going to need us. But with that said, on the outside, when I built the last section of George Floyd Square Garden, when I built the last section, the dump trailer wouldn't dump the load. The compost was so sticky, I had to dangerously have the dump trailer up like this, while me and this young child went up there and tried to scoop it down, but we could have went in the avalanche like, hey, you know, because there ain't no trying to jump. But anyway, Nate's arguing with me all night that the Bible's fake, and you can't say it. Stop calling it the Bible. It's not the Bible. It's the autobiography of the King of Kings. It's not a man's study with a man's perception. It's an autobiography of the King of Kings, and all those people were people who scribed words for him.
Yes.
And if you read it in that light, you'll see it differently. And then you'll understand why the king had to run the kingdom the way he did, right? And why it has to happen this way. Although we don't get it, there's a reason. And so I'm just kind of, look, he set me free. I'm figuring things out just like you. But he told me that it's no good. But so when I was getting ready to leave and I got a truck full of children, and he comes over to my truck at 2 o'clock in the morning at the People's Way, right? The same night I stopped a woman from getting raped and stopped everybody from looting the People's Way because we decided not to loot anything down there to keep it holy.
Yes.
Sanctified.
Yes. No
reason to bum rush us. So what does holiness mean, right? Because that was our decision as a community to keep it holy, right? When somebody tried to break the window at Cup's Food with a brick, he got surrounded, hemmed up, brought out to the police. Window got fixed. Holy.
Yes.
Stop bringing stolen cars in here, youngins. Stop trying to run through here on all that, youngins. Holy. So we did it. So with that said, at the George Floyd Square, man, Brother Nate ended up putting his gun aimed into the truck that night. And I hadn't touched a gun since I vowed to never touch a gun again. He made a covenant with me. If you vow to me on this day that you will never touch a gun again, not only will I open these prison doors, but I will close the gates to Hades and open eternity to you forever.
Yes.
Will you make this vow to me on this day? Yes. Never touched a gun all the way until 2020. Just before the 4th of July, so the end of June 2020. It was hot. It was hot outside, man. We out there in the asphalt jungle. It's hot outside. It's nighttime. It's probably about 85 degrees. I ain't got time for this, Nate. I ain't got time for this right now. Your gun is janky. You're going to go hurt people with it. You're going to probably do something you regret. Your heart is failing you. You're going to die, and you want to take people out with you. I was like, you need to give it up. And he stuck the gun out, and it was aimed into the car, and I said, don't do that. First time I touched a gun in a long time. And he said, this is more powerful than your Bible. And I was just about to say, I tried to tell, all of a sudden this thing, the gun was completely dismantled out of his hand. He was holding the frame, the slide, the coil, the bullets, the clip, dismantled, thrown everywhere in the parking lot of the. You can't even drive through that exit no more because it's blocked. I was the first person driving in there, bringing in loads of dirt continuously, plants, matter, stuff to build. Right, I was the one driving in there with my broke down looking Dakota, with my broke down looking ski trailer, building it up, and I was there getting ready to leave, and this happened. And his homie said, hey, can I get one of the Bibles? So with that said, I mean, like, they're all locked up. They had a chance. They had a choice. And they're like, no, look at you. You're homeless. No, I'm not. I'd rather be dead broke in the garden with God and without him ever again. Yes. I'm Clift the Gardner.
Yes.
So this case, now we want to try to wrap up here shortly. But,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This case. So when I had got caught in 2005 in New Mexico, I was on my way back. They did not have my full shipment. It was the first time ever. I had probably about like 90 pounds of drone. That's it. Just 90 pounds of drone. And probably a couple $100,000 because they didn't have my full load. I had probably because we had spent so much money on throwing parties across the Midwest trying to amp up our family tree Fam Tree production label, and then we had Northern Exposure and Wolf Mob. Because I didn't sign artists, I signed other labels that can go sign artists, right? And I was just funding parties and funding it, just back funding. Because man, I was getting pounds of dro for like anywhere between $700 to $1,200.
What's it selling for at the time?
Oh, $6-7 grand a pound.
That's what I remember.
Give or take. But I'd sell it for like $3,800. I was trying to stop the wars. Mm-hmm. So I figured if everybody was eating, and this was like Konas, style, like bamboo, or caveman sticks, right? And so people were loving it because it was so fresh. And it was like nothing that we were getting. You know, we were getting brick. With the black seeds that looked like cockroaches and stuff, you know, and
dirt.
And super brown cocaine, and so I was getting it raw. It stunk horrible. There was no way to confine the smell. It's just don't get pulled over, right? We tried everything. So with that said, this journey I had 200-something thousand, just under $250,000 because they didn't have my full batch, 90 pounds, a murder weapon. Scott had a legal weapon, I told him to get an excursion because that the gut conscience thing, which was really. And I made I could have said no, we're not going, but I didn't. We went anyway. He got a Mazda 6, not an excursion, right? With TVs and everything. He oh man, this will get us better gas mileage. Who's worried about gas mileage? It's like $1.20 a gallon. Like, who was even thinking gas? Bro, I got millions of dollars. Get my fucking truck. You know, and it was like, dude, you're not taking this operation over, white boy. Because it's white boy B. This man he was the producer for We On. Minnesota Fats, nephew of Bishop Don Magic Wine. You know, I grew up with all these guys. You know what I'm saying? There's all these tough guys and stuff. We all grew up together, right? And it's like, he was supposed to take the cartel over. And I'm trying to teach him, because I've been working with him since he was 13 years old. We were the same age, right? Out of Hopkins. He was one of the day ones. You were with me when you were shooting in the gym? He was writing, he was taking notes and everything, right? And so with that said, he branched off, but then we came back together when he found out what I was doing when we were on our way back. So he had this though. There's a funny story about Scott and I when we were down in Nogales one day. It was my first trip into Mexico. And by this time I had so many guns. You know, I had cars, motels rented out for months. I had an operation set up down there where I just try to keep these things stocked up, you know. But then they would start flying off the shelf so fast that because it kept in the peace. I came from a graduating class of 1,350 students or something like that at Hopkins, and like 800 at South. But I graduated through hands-on because they wouldn't let me walk. So I mean, I had access to a lot of people who went across the country, right? Cooper High, Armstrong High, you know, all these different high schools we were connected to. So we were down there in Nogales one route as Scott was getting ready to take over the cartel. Of those 8 quick trips out of state, I mean, I think we were at like 6, right, at this point. And when we got caught, we were at like 3, right? No. Yeah. So I'm going down there. It's my first time. Nah, man, maybe it was just, it's before that song. It was way before that song, as a matter of fact. But it's probably about 1.5 years before that song, right? But we were down in Nogales, and he was like, hey, mi amigo, you have to go with us, man. I'm supposed to introduce you to some people. I'm like, okay. Hey, Scott, let's go. He's like, no, he can't go. All right, Scott, you're going to have to stay here. He's like, oh, we're going to be gone for like at least a day. And I was like, oh, where are we going? He's like, we're going far away, amigo. We're far away, doggy. It's like, okay, well, Scott, you know, let my sister know I'm gonna be gone. Blase whoop-de-woo. You know what I mean? And then, you know, my little Erickson I had. Hopefully, get some service out in the desert I don't know where we're going, right? Mm-hmm. So then he said, "But you got to leave your guns behind." Nah, man, I can't go on again and do all that, man. You know, at least my Spanish 25s, they can come with me. No, nothing. Can't bring nothing. Nah, man, I can't go this round, man. I'll catch you on the next one. Well, if you don't come, then it's over. What you mean it's over? Like no more relationships, no nothing? He's like, well, we just probably won't trust you anymore. I was black. They didn't know I was black at first when we first met. They thought I was Mexican American.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
They thought I was one of them. Mm-hmm. So when they found out I was a Negro, holy buckets. They were like, we don't mess with black people, Holmes. I was like, well, you do now. I mean, you don't met everybody's family. What do you do now, right?
Hello.
They honored me. They never spoke Spanish around me. Mm. And if people didn't speak English, I told them, I don't want, there's a lot of money involved here, man. Everybody got to speak one thing that everybody understands, and they always did me that favor, right? And so I'm like, okay, these people have gone through the extents. I have met family on borders. You know what I'm saying? They've dropped me off places before on the American side. They never told me to leave my guns behind. So I was like, okay. But then he said, but we also got to blindfold you. You lost me. I don't understand this part, man. I'm like, really, like this point, what's going on, so-and-so? Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make sure.
Do you trust me? I want to.
The stripper.
But do you trust me?
For tonight from Home Depot.
Yes, I trust you. Mm-hmm. So then,
is he there?
Is this good? Yeah, that's good. Okay. I can't see nothing. Right? He's like, how many fingers you got? How many fingers? I was like, I'm listening, man. I can't see nothing. I'm telling you, man. I said I could see down. You know, I can't see nothing, though. So they led me into the truck, you know, and then just out of funniness, I was just like, rolled on the window, and so he did, and I couldn't see him. I was just like, bye, Scott. You know what I mean? And he said it was the dumbest thing I ever did in my life. But I was doing it for the home team. Mm-hmm. You know, Mystery and Murder-Appolis. We got how we gonna stop the violence, right? If the pipelines ain't going, everybody gonna start killing each other again, right? It was a lot of business going down from 2001 to 2005, right? I mean, there was flooded, and there was others who were competing, but they couldn't compete with my prices.
No, never, not that.
Right. And so these bigger guys would buy me out at a certain price, you know, and half the work was done. They'd buy that load out, and I'd skedaddle right back down. Whatever, you know, take 2 weeks off, re-up, station it, and start flooding it. You know what I mean? Had a few other people who I trusted enough to go to this hotel or go to that hotel to pick up a 5-pack or a 10-pack or a key or something, you know, and bring it up and tell them how to do it. Nobody ever got busted. By the grace of whatever, you know. I believe divinity.
Yes. So
with that said, when I went down there that first trip, it was a nightmare. That country is war-torn. Their government has failed them. And like Spike Moss said tonight, they are the First Nation people of this country.
Yeah, they are.
That French called Mexican or Latin or whatever else they wanted to call them when they displaced them, you know, to do whatever they did. So with that said, you know, Spike Moss had an analogy that he said tonight. He said, if you take, I don't care who you are, if you take 2, 3, 5 pigeons from New York, cage them up, and bring them back here to Minnesota and set them free, they're going to go back to New York. He's like, how are you going to call these people trying to come to America non-Americans when their roots go back 4,000 or 5,000 years? from this the Anishinaabe are a 3,800-year-old tribe from Minnesota. Dakota are a 3,700-year-old tribe from Minnesota. Dakotas. And so with that said, who are we to say who are, who aren't? That's back to that data point with the prisoners. How it's talking about the data, how it's vital. So that trip was, I found out that these cartel people were human. They're just as human as I am. They have families that love them. They have children. They have mothers, mamas and papas. They go home and they eat meals, great home-cooked meals. They got agriculture systems. They got policing systems that are corrupt. Legislative systems that have corrupted and failed them. And everybody does want a better life, but everybody's afraid to be the one to do that because it's not cool, and it might get your head chopped off.
Might be, yeah. Yep.
And so everybody's. Pac said a coward dies a million deaths.
Yeah, soldier only dies one.
Soldier dies but once. And so so I was on my way back on my third to last trip and had all this on me in this Mazda 6. Speed limit is 80 miles an hour. I tried to light tint it, put light tint on it, just so it's not illegal, but at least we're driving across deserts with the sun just beaming in, bro. This is not luxury. This is not expedition. Excursion. Yeah, excursion. This is not an excursion truck, right? And so, which would have been me in the back seat on a leather captain watching movies when it's not my shift and no one's peering in.
Right, yes.
Period. Right? And this fool. So, or act of God. The one time I was ever locked up in the prison was this day. Because on that way back, the speed limit was 80. I was going 84. There was a swerving semi-truck for miles. And he kept slowing down, or he or she, and then speeding up. So they were obviously falling asleep. And so finally, in this open Sahara, you can see things for miles. So I know that someone's radaring somewhere. Airplane, something. It's a hot strip. I've seen people pulled over. We're just coming into New Mexico, right? We're almost into the clear because once you hit Colorado, it's kind of like you can breathe, right? You're more towards Midwest. You're getting safer. And so, because once you get to the Midwest, it's less strange for our Minnesota plates to be over there, right? These are our young guys or whatever. So anyway, with that said, in this Mazda 6, and I know these interstates like the back of my hand because how many times I had gone already, right? And so, personally, and so I go to pass this semi, and I'm going 86 because he was slowed down to 72. I was like, no, so I just hit the reset on the cruise control, and it went. And ended up clocking at 86. I remember seeing this. And then all of a sudden, there's a cop going the opposite way.
Fuck.
And then you see him turn around. And then you see him getting closer and closer fast. It's
sick feeling.
Yeah.
Sick feeling.
Yeah.
Slow motion.
So then I just slow down. I can act like, you ain't gonna go get me. You got me. 86 and 80. Got me. So then I pull over, and he comes up, and he's like, so I got you speeding. I said, no, you got me passing a swerving semi. You didn't get to see any of that. I knew who you were coming. You weren't coming after him. He probably was doing maybe 72 because I finally found a moment to pass him. I said, you should really be after him because either he's drinking or he's falling asleep. Well, I'm more concerned about you right now. What you doing down here from Minnesota?
Holy fuck.
Oh, that's none of your business, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a young black man. I'm 23, right? It's the year of the Jordan. Either I'm going to prison for the rest of my life or I'm dying.
Mm-hmm.
I always told people that. I prophesied that. When I was like 15 is when I started saying it. Either I'll die in prison or either I'll die or go to prison at the age 23, the year of the Jordan. Mm-hmm. So I told everybody.
Reality.
I lived by this,
mm-hmm.
right? Because I just knew it, right? And so I ended up smooth talking my way out of this. And I got my speeding ticket. And I'm getting ready to get in the car to drive away. And I knocked on the window and said, "Hey, Scott, you drive." And he said, "Why is that?" I said, "Messing with this guy, man. I'm just going to take my nap now, right?" I was like, till we get to Colorado, we get our hotel that we're planning on getting in Colorado Springs. Just trying to be evident, like, we're on a vacation. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, our resort that we got booked, they can call. And this was routine that I made everybody stop somewhere for a day or two along the way back, right? And so, anyway, I go to get in. He said, "Hey, I got just a few more questions." I said, "I already got my ticket, sir. I'm done dealing with you. I'm about to go get me a Whataburger," whatever it's called, you know. And I was like, Jack in the Box. Mm-hmm. And he said, "No, how about you come on over here?" "Yeah, Sarge. Are you almost here?" "Yeah, I'm pulling up now." "What's Sarge pulling up for?"
That's what I'm saying.
"So we actually got you on radar clocking high speeds on the way down."
Get the fuck, get out of here.
"And we know it's your vehicle. We got the plates and all that." And one of the times, I was like, I looked at Scott, and he goes, because I guess one of the times when I was sleeping, he had been driving at high rates of speeds through New Mexico. Mm. And they had recorded him. Mm. His high rates of speed when there was no cops in the region. And so it was real to fact that he set us up.
Oh my God.
On accident.
Mm.
And so when they were pretty much like a lookout, right, for this car. And we weren't gone because they didn't have our full load and they weren't going to have it. So I was like, well, we'll just bring this back. So we weren't even down there our current amount of time because usually we would have to wait like 3-4 days while we wait for it to get across. Well, they had tunnels underneath the earth. The Juarez twins, they had multiple burrowed out tunnels through the earth that went like big, huge tunnels that Mack trucks, so they could drive down there and all these shipments they bring through and flood the United States. When they murdered one Juarez twin brother and locked up the other, they took over the tunnels, the FBI, the very same ones I shook hands with in Juarez. Federal agents. Yeah. They said they worked with the Juarez twins because they were a lesser evil of the cartels. But with that said, which they were. I mean, if you think a Russian tie, bow tie, with bodies hanging from railroad tracks. This happens to snitches on boards on their chest, written in Latin and American. You know, high up in the sky for everyone to see. If you consider that a lot less than just walking up and executing people and telling everybody they can't touch their body. I mean, which one do you want? It's back to that whole Dante Wright thing.
Martin Luther King, Malcolm X.
Which one do you want? Do you want the bad cop or you want the bad guys?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, they came, they illegally searched the car, they took the toy, they rubbed it all over the place in the car. I said, "What you doing with that thing, man? What is that thing you just took out and rubbed all over my stuff?" You know, and he said, "Don't worry about it, just step back." And the dog came in and started looking for his toy. Started digging through trying to find his toy. Oh, something's in there, he got a hit. Pull out the suitcase and find all the cannabis. He's digging through. Where's it at? Where's what at? Where's it at? Where's what at? Damn it. Where's the rest of the bags? There's no other bags. Search the rest of the car. They're searching the car. They're like, "Where's the dope at?" "Dope? What dope?" I said, "Man, I'm a pothead." "What you mean?" You know, I just got all my supply for me and all my people back in Minnesota, man. It's gnarly, dude. You know, it's just like trying to like, you know, whatever. Like, so long story short, he got so mad at me because he thought he had a bust of the season. He just got 90. So then what they did was they stole 50 pounds.
All right.
And they only logged in $8,000.
That's about right.
Right? And they gave us like a half ounce. They gave us our papers. And said, y'all boys are going away for a long time. You wasted our time. I said, but you know what you're about to go through? Yeah. If you make it alive, maybe you won't get a death penalty. But if you make it out alive, it's like your prisons up north aren't our prisons down here. We have the Serenos. We have this, we have that, we have the meth, we have...
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm not scared of you. It's like, and you're a liar. You know, you're a thief. But thank you. Appreciate that. He's like, you want anything to eat? Sure. What you want? It's like Jack in the Box. That's where I was headed. It's like this exit that we just got off of to go to your police precinct is where we were going. It was to Jack in the Box to get some burgers, right? And so they went and got Jack in the Box for us. We rolled up a bunch of joints. We went out in the parking lot. We were smoking joint, cigarette, big old stogies until we couldn't take it no more. And then I just started. I started smoking a cigarette like people do crack, just trying to numb the pain. You know, thinking about running. Right while I'm out there, but he's sitting there with his gun, just hoping. You know, to run. And so after we got done, they handcuffed us, or we went and ate our Jack in the Box. And after we ate our Jack in the Box, they took us down, and they don't have jail. They got prison. That's it. They were then. So they brought us to the Bernalillo County Prison, men's adult facility. We arrived in the middle of the night. It's so flooded with people that they didn't have rooms. So they had people in the mess halls and the gyms on cots or on mats, on fold-out mats. And when I went in there and laid down, all I heard was these muttered cries. And so I got up and I was like, man, hey, he's going to be all right, man. And I looked, and there's two dudes holding him down. And another dude just going to town. And I was like, I lay down and said, hey, Scott. He said, yeah. I said, don't go to sleep. He said, what do you mean? I said, don't go to sleep. He's like, why? I said, please don't go to sleep. I said, if I fall asleep, wake me up. I'm do the same for you. And so the first night we made it. Second night we made it. Third night, it was like 5 o'clock, and this little short dude walks over to me. And he's got some big Mexican dudes, you know, a little taller than this brother, and just real stocky, you know, and try to intimidate. And he comes over and he says, what's up, doggy? So what's up? He says, some people that recognize you, you know, that y'all from Nogales, that you've been kicking with some hires and bosses. And I was like, well, what's it to you? He's like, well, we're all going to be in here together for a while. He's like, so, you know, we want to come over and make a barter with you, make a trade. I said, what kind of trade do you mean? He's like, well, just your gringo for our gringo. I said, my gringo for your gringo? What does that mean? And he said, you know, the homeboy. What homeboy? You want me to sleep with him? You want to sleep with my brother? I said, well, we don't get down like that. It's not our forte, you know. He said, well, this is what we do. You know, this is an offering. You know, I said, I don't get down like that, bro. And so you have to take that elsewhere. He's like, so you're just going to reject our offering? I said, no. I said, I'm just letting you know that I'm not down with that. He said, all right, we're going to be here for a long time. I said, what does that mean? And he said, you know, somebody like watch your back or something. I was like, well, we could do it right now. You know, and they kind of like went on guard and they started walking away. I was like, you know what? I'm going to see your little ass around. You know? And right there, I started a war. Right? So then I called my ex-wife, my first wife, and I said, hey, you're going to have to put our house up for bail. Like now. She said, why? I said, you need to go and take the deed. And immediately, otherwise Scott is not going to live. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, if you don't bond us out right now, Scott's not coming out alive. Simple. And so she did. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, they came and got us and let us out. She bonded us out. We went to downtown Albuquerque. And on the way there, I saw this motel. And I just knew I had to go there. It was that gut feeling. Bus driver drops us off and says, oh, by the way, don't get caught out here. There's a curfew law right now in Albuquerque for martial law. Might want to get in somewhere. Or find somewhere to duck out until the morning. What time in the morning? What you mean? He's like, you only got a couple hours, 6 o'clock in the morning, streets are released pretty much. It's like, what? So then what I do, I walk back to that motel. And this black woman answers the door. I tell her what's going on. She's like, here, take these keys, just we'll talk about it in the morning. So this other guy followed us named Dreamer, and he was telling us how he was a meth addict. We should go to the impound with him. He had all these drugs in the impound. They didn't get to it. And he only been locked up for a couple months, and they're so full that they let him out type thing. And we're like, no, but then he wouldn't leave us. Long story short, we ended up falling asleep, but he left behind his class ring. I don't know why. But then the next morning, we started looking for attorneys. Every attorney wanted like this ridiculous amount of money. A war broke out within a week back on the streets over who was going to divide up my funding amidst a lot of different groups. And pretty much everybody considered me gone once they found out. Joseph Laycock, a whole nother story. He is the real Walking Tall story of Albuquerque. And he ended up allowing us to stay there at that motel for free for the whole 2 weeks. Our judge told us when we went and visited the judge the next morning after drop off, she said she was giving us each 20 years mandatory, and that we could fight for, we could fight the death penalty. Yeah. So and she announced that that we would die by lethal injection on crucifixion in the Santa Fe prison. Because she believed that we were terrorists of the United States of America. And this is going on with our people. Right?
Yes.
But the thing is that it's a systemic system. Ricky Ross. The real Rick Ross.
Yeah, the real Rick Ross.
The cocaine Contra. My dad. All these other layers, slavery, my grandmother.
What about the ones we don't even know about? How many of those untold stories?
Frederick Douglass. When he was setting people free from slavery, there was also those who had caught charges that couldn't be released from slavery because they were their prisoners.
Right.
Systemic.
Yes.
See what I'm saying?
But it goes right back to that field and that mother and us experiencing that. Even though we weren't there, it's still traveling through our DNA. We were there, right, with them. The trauma, historic trauma. They don't want to talk about it. I mean, that's what causes us to do so many different things.
These black people won't work. They call Mexicans wetbacks because they'll work. But Trump don't want them mingling with their white women.
Of course.
Right? And it's okay while they're over there. And Trump used to say that he supported Tupac and other stuff because he let some black people in to his golf club, back when they didn't let people in, and no, that's not good enough. Obama was not one of us.
Mm-mm.
He walked like us, and he talked like us, but he wasn't one of us.
That's why he got where he got. It's that.
There is actually, Tavis Smiley has a thing out called, it's called the We Count. Yeah, We Count, and it's by Tavis Smiley, and they put a square on the table, and on all sides of the square says love, and it's a conversation about Obama. And it has the top black leaders in the United States of America, descendant of slaves, talking about how he carried not one presidency, but they were calling him out in the second for using us to get his position and then not doing nothing for us.
That's a good, yeah. Be argued all day long, yeah, true.
And so with that said, I mean, it's all on record, so, but with, yeah, we have some traumas to heal from.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in these courts, so I'm looking for an attorney. The cheapest attorney literally said $40,000 down each for before the case and $40,000 down each for after the case. He could not get us out of the 20. Maybe on good time, like a 12 or 16.
Mm-hmm.
But he said what we were fighting was the death penalty. And he said, and that's why, and he said, but he had to have the money up front, and the cartel wouldn't answer the phone, and nobody would pay. And I told all my guys, like, hey, just let go. The cartel, once I get locked up, the pipeline will turn back on. I'll get my protection on the inside. We'll keep things flowing. Just in the meantime, just lay low. And work with what you got, and just keep things neutral between RSW, RT, Fam Tree, Wolf Mob, Northern Exposure. You know what I'm saying? All of our, whoop-de-whoops, blase-blases. You know, so with that going on, I had accepted my fate, and my son was not even one, right? And, or whatever age he was at this time, I believe, one. So all of a sudden, Scott said, have you cried out to your God? I said, what do you mean? See, I had some experiences when I was 15. I had another experience when I was 17. October 19th, 1999 was the day that I was born again. In fact, that's a whole different story with Apostle Peter in New Kingdom congregation in East St. Paul. When a black man with green eyes, his green eyes turned blue. And spoke to me about some things, right? And it was strange. It was very strange. Like, I'm not talking like blue, like I'm talking blue, fire blue. You know, like strange. So that's why I gave my life over, and then I ended up in the cartel 8 months later because I couldn't take it. But they used to call me Jesus freak. And it wasn't a good thing. I got into fights over this. I knocked people out. How dare you disrespect? Because you're trying to disrespect me. It ain't got nothing to do with what happened. You're trying to really, truly disrespect me. I feel like you just called me a nigger.
Mm-hmm.
So I knocked him out, right? So what I did was I kept that stuff suppressed. And I just stopped telling people about this weird stuff going on in my life. Just kept it personal, right? Because that way I could avoid that conflict. But now here Scott is, where I didn't forget, but I just kind of put it off to the side. Now here Scott is 3 whatever years later, and he says, have you tried calling out to your God? I said, if you were my God, would you want anything to do with me? And he's like, well, would it help if I did with you? I was like, well, it says by 2 or 3 over pressing concerning matter. It's pretty pressing and concerning. I mean, so we did. This large set white man. I was a little skinny Negro at the time, like sweating our balls off or whatever. And this New Mexico, Albuquerque heat sink, EPA crisis region, no air conditioner at 9 o'clock in the morning, holding hands in kumbaya. And he just goes on and on and on in his prayer. And I'm just like, Oh, thou God, be thou of the great thy universe. So this is just like, when it came to me, I was just like, look, I am so sorry. And if you hear me, let your will be done. Let your will be done. And I was like, oh, nothing magical happened. I said, let's go say goodbye to everybody that helped us out. Yeah. While we've been here for the last 2 weeks. I mean, like, bro, like, these people, like, loved on us, college campus kids, over there in, actually, Indian Drive and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Drive.
Here we go again.
Right? These people, like, really, from the top of their heart, took care of us. They gave us free food every day. They gave us like cultural food. They gave us American food. They invited us to these house parties, but we just could not have fun. we could run. Yeah. We could run. Yeah. I could go to Mexico and just be done with it, like, right, and just go on, outlaw. We came from the city. Dear God, I wonder, can you save me? Right? So there's like this real life condition taking place right now. Like, I was just like, nah, I got to take this one for the team. Because if I get locked up and I go down like a G, they're going to protect me inside. I'm going to fight for my life. Hey, Scott, do what you can, brother. Do what you can. May the best man win.
Yes.
May the best last man standing, right? That's
how I go.
And I tried to train him during that 2 weeks. I even tried to get him to fight other people on the block. Like, hey, just go slap him. just go slap him. Look, if he starts beating you up too bad, I'll pull him off. Like, but he's big. Don't worry, man. You got this. Just go. He would not do it. So anyway. I was just like, oh, Lord, he's going to die. Oh, he's going to die. Oh, he's going to get so turned out. But it's funny.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
On our Cat Williams, but I'm trying not to cry, right? Because it's real. And on my Richard Simmons, I'm trying not to cry. It's comedy, but it's real. And
laugh, not to cry.
So we go to go say peace out to Joseph Laycock. And that's his real name, Joseph Laycock. And everything about his name is exactly what it is. Okay, this man was a legend. Okay, he would swang that thing, until he had his revelation. And then he became walking tall, and cleaned up town. So he's a legend. And so we went to go say all the stories he told us, man, I willingly helped him around. I was a millionaire, right? But I willingly helped him do grit work because I respected what this man did. He went to the Bronx and hired a badass white man. They went down and they got deputized. They got so many assaults with deadly weapons, like bats and chairs and all kinds of stuff, from cleaning up the town to prostitution and drug dealing and stuff, that they deputized them. Yeah, it's real. And so cops would come by and talk to him all the time, drug lords, all kinds of stuff, right? But so we went to go say goodbye to him through the back door of the office. And as we go to the back door of the office, come on in. Hey, Cliff, what's up, man? Oh, man, we'll just come by and say goodbye. It was good knowing you, blase. What you mean? Well, tomorrow's the day. It's 20 years. Death penalty. What, you didn't get an attorney? Nah, man. Nah. Just gonna bite the bullet on this one. Figure it out. We'll figure it out. It's like, maybe I'll get enough money accumulated through the team. We could reface these things later, but it's time to go to war. And he knows what that meant. He's like, he's like, I would feel bad for you. He's like, but there's somebody in the other room that's here to see you. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, his name is Sasha. He's a legend. He changed his life around, all this other stuff, but he said that God sent him here. what? He said, yeah, he's outside right now. So I, you know, inquisitive mind like mine, you know, I just, shh. He ain't playing. Scott, this really, you know, so he tells me what Sasha said to him. And I'm like, okay. So I go out there and I talk to him, and he tells me his story. This man got into a high-speed chase on foot. Okay? Running man, okay? Like Arnold Schwarzenegger ain't got it. Or Sasha, all right? But Sasha was on a lot of meth. He was one of the original cooks in the deserts. Mm-hmm. You know, that TV show, Original. And when they arrested him, they had chained him up. He was big. Even though he was on meth, he was a really big, massive Indian, right? Because he didn't just like, he didn't do like others. He kept working out and stuff. But now he's like Superman, right? Mm. So he broke all the chains of the handcuffs, right? Beat up these cops, disarmed their guns and threw them and took off running. What happens when you feed a demon? I'm just gonna lay that on the table. Just gonna lay that on the table. Okay. He had an extra passenger or few. Because what he did, he ran at high rates of speed. Have you ever seen New Mexico fences? Mm-mm. The big concrete walls, right? It's not a picket fence, okay? It's not like a wooden fence. And some can be 9, 8 feet. They got compounds, mm-hmm. communities to help people from kidnapping and women and man-napping, car theft, and all this crazy stuff going on by the border, right? Meth. Mm-hmm. Imagine the hyper mode of meth. When it first started, nobody knew what the it was, okay? And so you can't imagine what these people faced in these communities that made them build these things up like this, right? Gated everything. And this dude got into a high-speed chase with the police and disappeared. And the only way they were able to arrest him was by investigating him, infiltrating his family and friends to get him while he was sober. Mm. And then when he did, he cried out because he realized what he'd become as also a believer, not a Christian. Believer. Right, once upon a time. Mm-hmm. Went away from these ways and turn from your wicked ways. Face your heart east. Cry out, and I will hear from heaven. So anyway, he said, Cliff, God heard your cry, and this morning he woke me up and told me to come here. Mm-mm. He told me to come to this office to come and talk to you. Mm-mm. Because he loves you, and he's going to set you free. Mm. What you mean? He said, there's a man by the name of Rafael Padilla. Here's his address. Nah, man, we've been by here. There ain't no. He said, go there. It's a house. He's waiting for you. So, man, didn't think to get his number. Didn't think. Okay, cool, Sasha, appreciate it, bro. You know, and my man, you know. What do? We walk off. We didn't say, where do you live? What's your number? What's your wife's name? Where do you fellowship? Like, none of that. It was just, what? Okay. So we went, you know, all G'd up. I'm in my Rockaware, you know, I'm ready to hit the streets. Like, what? Going home, baby. So go knock on this door, and the lady's like, come in. He's expecting you on some Matrix stuff. Oh, Sasha must have, yeah, right. So we walk over to this office. We go in, Raph's on the phone, and he says, he's like, he switches it from phone to speakerphone. And this guy's crying, and he's muttering, he's mumbling, and he's like, can't do it. Old self, right? And this is our God. This is the power of my God, my Savior, my hero, my Creator, the one that I get to know. You know, the one that the king that has been writing the story, this is who he is at the core of his essence, that this man was a high-powered businessman in New Mexico, and he lived in a very wealthy estate, and he always would get drunk and drive home. And this night that he drove home, he plowed over an entire family. He was so intoxicated. Killed all of them. The lady almost survived, the wife, but it was 3 children, a husband, and a wife, and an infant survived in her arms. Was also in ICU, and the wife died. And he was facing murder, vehicular, and knowing that people knowing that he was like this, that testified against him, that he was doing this regularly, getting drunk and driving home, made it pretty much premeditated. It was not an accident. It's not like it just happened. It just finally happened. And so he cried out. Sent to Raphael Padilla, same way. And Raphael was trying to tell him to calm down. What we found out later, like when he got off the phone with him, he said, "You're probably wondering what that was about." Told us what happened. He said, but then the family are some pretty radical believers. And he said that they each had a vision, the ones that have the power of attorney over the child. And that they each had a vision. They were all told to not only release the man from his crimes, but to give the child to the man to be raised. And that man is to raise the child to know who Yeshua is, so they can all go to the kingdom and be with him together. Assuring them that they were at home. And it's just like, and he tells us this, right? He's like, so you're here because this happened, yeah. This happened, yeah. This happened, yeah. But you had this much, yeah. But they had taken this much and you find this much, yeah. And you had this gun, but you know that it's been through this, and these places in that state, yeah. And then you had this much money, there's this much, blah, blah, blah. Hold on, man. That's a whole lot more than what you could have got. The cops, like, what's going on here? He goes, how's Sasha doing? Great, what you mean? He said, well, I haven't seen Sasha since his case. 15 whatever years ago. What do you mean? He said, yeah. He said, I haven't seen Sasha in near over a decade. And he said, but this morning when the Lord woke me up, he told me that he was sending Sasha to come and get you. These are things you're facing. But he said, don't worry, your case has already been dismissed. Give me $300. Each? All together. You can go home. I'll defend the rest of the case. What are you doing? Go home. Ran, got the money, came back, paid him, went to this thing that night called Burning the Chaff. I guess the prosecutor, the state prosecutor was there for the first time ever at his Burning of the Chaff meeting, where you write down something, and you ball it up in the paper, you throw it in the fire. And it's not like something magical happens. It's just like, hey, I'm going to let go of this. This is the Burning of the Chaff. Some people do it, some people don't. But when the prosecutor came that night, when I threw something in the fire, like, something happened to me. You said you had it happen. You know what I'm saying? Something happened to me. I got washed by something. So then, long story short, on that end, we went home and I caught another case. I went to go, it was going to end up being like a triple homicide. We were going to rob these Sereno 13s. I got the clearance from the cartel. We get over $300,000. And right before I left to go do it with Anthony Ferguson of the Ferguson family, Murder Ant, I hit him up and I was like, yo, hey, you going to go do this little whoop-de-whoop with me? He's like, yeah. I said, hey, I've been casing it out for a while. I drove you around and showed you. Yeah, I said, tonight's the night. He's like, all right, let's go. Went down to my Mexicans and got one of their weapons that I went in on early on, the Latin Kings, right? And it was a 38 snub nose, and then we had the extendo put on, and then it was filled with hollow points.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then I had 2 more clips with hollow points, and then the idea is that he would go in and act drunk. Man, what's up, man? You know, meanwhile, I go to the back window that I noticed that they always left open, always. Do my thing, go inside, blah, 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 in and out, right? But then before I left, I had sent my first wife and my child to my friend Jonathan's, who just died of an overdose, not even like 5 months ago. But this is back in 05. And so 05. So I sent my child and his mother to his house and said, don't let them go home if you don't hear from me, right? And so right before I left the house, I said, all right, if this is not of you, then stop me. But here's that crooked, thwarted mind. But if it is, I will be the right hand of God, and I will take these vermin out. Right? And that's that thwarted, disgusting deception of taking human life. Right? We don't have the right. We don't have the right to take life, period. I don't care who someone is. You don't have the right even to defend yourself. And if you don't believe me, well, we'll all find out. Right? We will all find out. We'll find out who's right and who's wrong one day.
Yes.
But what I know is, what I found out is that none of us have the right to take another life of a human being. None of us. And so, to love to the point of forgiveness, the truest love is one who will lay his own life down for his own friend, right? And to make your enemies your friend, right? And Mahatma Gandhi found that in the Martin Luther King meetup. So with that said, caught that next case. So I left to go get Ant. Got the gun, got Ant, drove to the spot, got 1 block away, and every single light on my car started strobing. Blinkers, brake lights, headlights, everything started strobing. And a cop saw this. She's like, what is that? Right? So she comes and pulls me over 1 block away from the hit. If this is not of you, then stop me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
She comes to the window and Ant, out of nowhere, goes, he's got a gun. I looked at him like, and he didn't know what happened. He's looking at me like, if this is not of you, then stop me. Right? He will use a jackass to tell his story. A donkey, right? Balaam and Balak. I don't know if you ever read the story of Balaam and Balak. If you haven't, go read it. He will use a donkey, a jackass, right? So get out of the car. You know the federal position, you know. No, I don't actually. You know what I'm saying? Like, do like in the movies. This is what she said. Do like in the movies. What you want me to do? What you want me? What the fuck you mean in the movies? Like, I seen a few. It's long. So she ends up, arresting me, gets me in, and I'm not gonna go into the details of that. It's a whole nother saga, but I end up confessing everything because I realized who I looked in the mirror and I was like, you don't deserve life, Clifton. And when I looked in the mirror, my eyes were black. There was no brown. I took no hallucinogens. I took no acid, no shrooms, no weed, no nothing, right? I was on adrenaline. And I had an extra passenger of 5,000 or so. Right? And I saw it. So then I called the CO, said have the detective come down. She did, told her everything. She said, Clifton, don't do this. There's no way that this could all be you. Because I gave her 13 aliases of people close to me. I was like, I'm responsible for all this. I said, you have no idea what I can do. You know what I mean? And I said, you got to lock me up and you got to destroy me. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, I have the death penalty in New Mexico. She's like, what? I told her what happened. She's like, oh, God. She said, Clifton, they're going to kill you. You can't do this. She's like, look, we don't have to do the recording. We'll do a new one. She tried to beg me to take it back. And I was like, no, you have to do this. And she had no choice but to do it. And she said, I feel so sorry for you that you were raised this way. I'm so sorry. I was like, well, there's nothing we can do about it now. So anyway, I ended up having an encounter. I got in a fight with some GDs that week because Aunt told them, oh, I was a lifer, so they were trying to chant. The prison was on the jail was on a big lockdown because Twister came in town. He went to Myth. There was a warrant check that night at a Twister concert. So it was packed. It was a packed house, okay? It was not the type of environment. And the phones, none of the phones worked. Yeah, it's bad. It's gotten worse. And then, so I couldn't take it no more. So I ended up beating up these GD folks, like, really, really bad. And I'm not a flagger, you know, and so then they said he must be suicidal. And I was just like, no, I'm just not going to let nobody punk me. You know, I don't care who they are. Those are big guys, you know. So anyway, put me in my cell, suicide watch, no sheets, no pillows, no whatever, asked for toilet paper, no writing utensils, no paper, no nothing. Metal slab. Then they gave me a cellmate on Saturday. We got to know each other. He ended up knowing, he was from Mexico, from Nogales, and knew people I knew. It was a breath of fresh air. And because I hadn't seen people in a few days, right? And then I was going crazy. You know, crazy. Pop, back to pop, right? Puffing on loud, hoping that it get me high. Got a name going crazy. You crazy. Okay, so that night, Saturday night, we were sitting there and the room started shaking violently. And not like the inanimate objects, but like the atmosphere, like bass, like L7, 15-inch L7s, 4 of them, in a bird, extendo, with the sunroof cracked open. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, like, you feel like you could talk, it's just like, because it's so loud, like, you don't even realize how loud it is, right? Like, the decibels take, you know, like, and then, but it gets so hot when it's at that decibel, it gets hot, right? So here's a different song for you. He's moving, he's shaking, he's shifting the atmosphere. That's what happened. When he enters the room, people are like, come on, Jesus, come. No, you listen. Please be sure what you're asking for, okay? Because he's holy, and we're not. Please understand what you are requesting, because you are calling down judgment on yourself if you are not right. Because when he entered the room, I heard, after the heat, fall to your knees and repent for the things that you have done. What? I look up to my bunkie, whose name is Jesus, right? What you say? He looked, not me. And then we heard it again. Fall to your knees and repent for the things you have done. And then plop. That's how, you know how that fall can be, right? and he saw something, because we looked at each other and he went like this, and he's like, and he just started screaming, like, listen, you know, cell door, right? And he's screaming at the top of his lungs, and his voice is like, what's his name? Deep voice, Field of Dreams, baritone brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
Deeper with Tom Hanks.
Deeper voice, okay? Like, but not American, okay? And the voice is so strong, like it rips through you.
Not the Allstate guy. Not the Allstate guy. The Allstate guy.
No.
Not that.
James Earl Jones.
I got you.
Deeper than James Earl Jones, okay? Like this deep, right? Voice, baritone, right? Like, and says, you have sent too many people to a place where they'll never know who I am through my son. I hate guns. It was never my intention for them to be for those things to be in my creation. On this day, I will make a covenant with you. And if you vow unto me that you will never touch a gun again, back to that. And when he got done explaining this to me, I'm at the point where I'm screaming, please leave. Please, please leave. I can't take it. I felt like something's going to happen that's not supposed to, right? And that's how I felt. Like my molecules were jumping. Like if you ever thought that we were a digital program, it's a possibility because I was glitching out of control, right? And I could feel it. I couldn't see it. And it felt like I was being pinned down on my neck, right? Which is like a lamb under the shearer. The shears of the shearer, right? And not on no George Floyd stuff, right? Like on a pin, right? On the base of the neck, on like the neural network center of the body, you know, and it said, the voice said to me, I will give you a writing utensil and 2 pieces of paper. On one piece of paper, on each paper, write 2 sentences per line. On the first piece of paper, 2 sentences per line, both sides. On the first piece of paper, write down, I will never touch a gun again. He put me on a Bart Simpson, bro. On some homework, so detention. You know what I'm saying? And on the other piece of paper, 2 sentences per line, both sides. Write down all the ways that you have sinned against me, your mother, and your wife. Of the covenants that you have had. And I'm just like, okay, please leave. Guards never show up. No one ever shows up. And then just as quick as this presence came, it left, just gone. And when I felt the weight of it leave, I looked up, and Jesus looked up, and we army crawled across the room, and we hugged and we cried. Because what happened was real. Anyway, that night I was let out to go eat with public. They were serving Salisbury steak, mashed potatoes, corn, right, with some juice. It's a big deal, and it's my favorite slot. Right, I remember as a kid, you know, Mom came home with that microwave plate. You know, before I stopped eating microwaves, but you know, we ended up taking it out and put it in the oven plate, but. The Salisbury steak meal. It came with the mashed potatoes and the corn. Yeah, you remember what I'm talking about? Yeah. So then it was like that type of meal. And I gave up my seat to this tall, lanky white kid, but I went and sat down with the guys I got into a fight with. I gave up my seat for him. And you could cut the room, right? And when I sat down, I said, either we could pray over our meal, I could work this spork. What we gonna do? And this white kid's like, are you sure about this? I was like, man, you better take my seat before I change my mind. And there's more to the story. I was told I had to do this. It was the first time this thing started to make sense, right? If you don't do this, I can't get you out. So I went and did it. And he ended up grabbing my hand and his other people's hand, and we prayed. She came over and said, "Hey, that was very brave of you, Williams. But if you want more, let me know. I'll bring it down." Everybody's like, "Man, it's not fair." She's like, "Silence, silence." Nobody was quiet. She's like, "Everybody be quiet. People are gonna start going whatever, blah blah blah. No food." So everybody's quiet. She said, "Mr. Williams, just because of that, I'm gonna have him bring down ice cream. What kind of ice cream you want?" "What?" She's like, "You got ice cream here?" She's like, "Yeah, we'll bring it down from the commissary from the people, whatever, the extended whatever. You'll be up there soon anyway, so can they have something too?" And they're like, "What?" And I was like, "Can we all have more food and more ice cream since we all kind of like did this together?" And she's like, "Sure, go ahead, gentlemen." They're like, "We got more plates or whatever. We're all grubbing." They brought down the chocolate strawberry mix, the chocolate and the vanilla on the trays, and we're smashing with the little wooden paddles. Right? Okay, we're just smashing. And then and everybody's like, "Man, we should have gave up our spots, man." You know. But then she comes over and she's like, "Mr. Williams, what you did was very brave tonight, and I thank you. When you're done eating, come over and I'm gonna give you a writing utensil and 2 pieces of paper." So I had nothing. I didn't need to eat nothing else. I'm going home. This is getting really real. Did it. Next morning, I was supposed to go to court at 11 a.m. Get picked up and go, whatever, and from Ramsey County. And at 10:43, they said, "Mr. Williams, we don't know why we're doing this, but the computer is saying to let you go."
Oh, wow.
I was like, "What?" So when I went down and seen the screen, sure enough, it's a black screen with the orange print, the old monitors or whatever. He shows me and it says, "Release Clifton DeMond Williams at 10:43 a.m. It's 10:48. You're going to be here at 11. We got a long way to shuffle." Clockwork. They had me out of there by like 10:56.
And that never has any kind of deal. That never has. Even baby.
Crazy, right? Go out there. And homie who I got, the main guy who I got into it with, got released with me, so he gave me a cigarette. He's like, "Man, you're a real G." He's like, "You really stood your ground." He's like, "I'm sorry about the disrespect." He's like, I didn't understand the situation, the way the Ant painted it. Ant flipped on my whole family, and I never, ever went after him for it. My dad, my brothers, me, everyone. He flipped on all of us. Snitched on every last one of us, and to get out. And then I just said, "You know what, let him go. I did everything. He had nothing to do with this. He doesn't realize what he's doing." So anyway, I let everybody go. I could have took so many people down, the cartel, everyone. I could have did but nope. And Yeshua had my back, the only one in the whole world. And when we were out there, man, there were so many cops. There's cops everywhere. It was like, damn, there's a lot of cops out here today. Man, this is crazy. And all of a sudden, my ex-wife pulls up, "Get in the car!" "How did you get in the car?" I was like, "What? Get in the car?" He's like, practically sucks me into the van, and she's like, "Get out!" And I'm like, "What's going on? Where'd you come from? How is this happening? How'd you know where I was?" She's like, "It doesn't matter." So we get back to the office, and she said the detective called her. He said, "Where's your husband?" Like 11:10 or something like that. "Where's your husband?" And she was like, "You got him." And she's like, "No, he escaped." "Yeah." And she was like, "What do you mean he escaped?" "Well, he's not here no more." So she goes to get in the car to come find me. She gets to the elevator, and she said it was like, she'll tell the story herself. She says as if someone smacked her hand, and the keys fell down the elevator shaft. So she runs downstairs, and the engineer's off at lunch with the whole sign in the window. This is an Edina at at one of the big buildings, you know, off of France and 100. And so she's like crying and panicking, goes, "Oh yeah, somebody give me a ride." You know, so this lady gives her a ride to come get me. And we realized that if she would have came and got me in our vehicle,
would have got you.
And that was me they were looking for. So then we ended up getting an attorney right away by the name of James Levington, who no longer practices, but we can call him right now, him or Raphael. We'll do that another time. I was about to, but an atheist Jew. So I have this hardcore, radical, only takes cases from God believer attorney, Raphael Padilla. And I got this atheist Jew, right, in NM and MN. MN and NM. You can't make this up, right? And I just I surrender my life. Okay, you got me. You got me. I'm not gonna go overlook. I just hit the wall in the spirit going 700 miles an hour. I don't deserve any of this. You got me. You come out with my hands up. Okay, I surrender. You know, I gave up guns. I still fought. You know, for until 2008. But so then I just started learning. Because I never read it. Nobody ever reads it. Everybody shows up and nobody ever read it. Like, read it. Like, I've never read it front to back. Ever. I can't get through it. Because once I get to those footnotes and start making cliff notes, you know, so I can't get through it. Because it's like, I get lost in it. And then I don't even have to read it all the time. Because I'm just always weighing it. I'm weighing it against everything. During this time, I just had my Xbox. And I had it downloaded into the Xbox because I had, you know, somebody hack into it where I got all video games, songs, movies, everything back in 05, right? And so, but then I had the King's autobiography entered in, and it just played day and night and day. It never stopped. That's the only way I got through it. I never sat there and listened front to back. I just catch snippets, you know, and I would chew on it. And during this time, it was like a cleansing. It was like a purifying because I was broke. I didn't know what fasting was, but I was fasting. Okay, like I'd walk. I was trying to walk this narrow line. Everybody, you know, didn't want to be around this square, you know. So they didn't realize that I wasn't a square. I was a rectangle that wasn't fitting in their circular peg, you know. And so, but he taught me himself. He showed up. And one day I was like, I can't take this no more. I'm not going to make it. I thought I was going to surely die by lethal injection. It was just haunting me. And so, actually I did touch a gun. I did. Because I sat in the tub. And I had one last gun in the house. And I forgot all about this. That was after that. His mercy. That I did touch a gun. Because I sat in the bathtub and I rubbed the gun on my head. Because I had redid the bathroom for my wife. And I found out she robbed me for like 60 grand. Took out a second mortgage. And illegally signed some stuff. And got the balloon mortgage crisis with Litton loan and all that jazz. And I had redid this bathroom like legit, like new spa, bathroom, jacuzzi tub. I'm just sitting in the tub and she's gone and everything's gone. The things that I went through during the time was just wicked. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just massaging my temple with the gun. And I was like, stop me. Just, if you can, stop me. Because I was like, I can't go through this. I can't go fight for the rest of my life and die by injection. I just can't foresee this, right? And then all of a sudden, my siblings show up, and my door got unlocked for them. And they just burst it. Cliff. I could hear it. And I was like, and they bursted in the door.
It was unlocked. And they came in, hey, Cliff, man, what's up? What you doing? My brother Ray, my sister Jamila, my younger brother Timothy. And they just like, we're going to take you out to lunch. You know, let's go. You know, we're just thinking about you. They just randomly popped up. That was the last time I touched a gun because I threw it in the trash. That grace, now that I think about it. So then I walked it out. And then he has been teaching me ever since. And then the day before my court case in Minnesota, my whole life depended on this, supposedly. And my mother was a missionary with a thing called YWAM, Youth with a Mission. She came home on a furlough to come be with me. This was the last time she was ever going to be able to touch me in her life. So she spent 2 weeks with me. And other than that, I'd be in one of those maximum penitentiaries because I was in the top 10 most wanted in the country. I didn't know who I was. They didn't know I didn't know what I became, right? Mm-hmm. And so one night I was laying on her chest, and some lady, the day before my court case, some lady called her and said, I had a vision, and your son was free, and he had more children, and he was living a life for community and for people and all this other stuff. And my mom was trying to tell me this. I was like, stop. I can't take it no more. I've already accepted the 5-year mandatory. And every murder, 3 years, or 5 years, and every maiming, 3 years. I've already accepted it. Stop. Don't put that in me right now, right? And so she said, my son doesn't want to talk about this anymore. Can we just talk about something else? And I fell asleep on her chest at 10 o'clock at night in my bed. And I woke up at 5 a.m. after this. So 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I time traveled in 7 hours. Time travel does exist. It's outside of my whatever scope of knowledge, but this is how I know, is that when I went to sleep, suddenly I was floating in this courtroom. I've never been in before, up by the ceiling. It's just like trying to get a hang of this, right? It was just going on. But then I see me, and I'm like, that's me. Right? I'm like, I don't know anybody, that's me. Oh, look at you, okay. You know, because it was the Armani suit that I found at the Goodwill that I would have pressed for the court case, right? Armani suit that I found at the Goodwill. The Hopkins Goodwill, next to Edina, you know, and all that jazz. So but 5 chairs away was my attorney. I'm like, dang, he said 5, 6 chairs away from me. What's that? You know, and across the table was the prosecuting bench. Behind them was the court witnesses. Over here was the court bailiff. Up here was the court reporter, and the judge's desk was empty. I'm peeping the room, right? And I was just like, okay. But then all of a sudden, I stand up, right? And I said, on this day, my God will show himself worthy unto me. And he will make us all witnesses of his glory and his kindness and his mercy and his grace. He has set me apart from the rest. And he has placed a purpose into my life that no man can come in front of, not even you. And on this day, you are to destroy all evidence and set me free. Do you understand me? And then I sat down, and then the room went blank. And then I heard a voice say, on this day, you will go in and say these things. And on this day, I will set you free. So then I woke up. It's 5 a.m. That was a very short clip. And it took 7 hours. Right? I don't get it.
I believe.
I don't get it.
I get it. I get it.
Like how Philip was translated. Philip was told to go to this road less traveled, and when he went there, he found the Ethiopian eunuch who would bring the Ethiopian gifts, right? Because Yeshua used to travel with that pack from Ethiopia for 13 years of his life, 3 times a year, right? They had the money to do this. Why? Because of the wealth the riches of the Ethiopian kingdom and the greatest birth party. What is that called again? When someone's having baby shower the world has ever seen. You know, you think it was just 3 kings that went to see him? No, it said the kings of the East went to see him. These kings were the kings that were trained by the Magi, who were Daniel's people, right? They were the studiers of the sky, of the stars. They were philosophers. They were Hebrews that lived in first Babylon and Persia, right? And they became the elitists of all elites. They became the rulers over time. They got placed in positions. They became brown and black Hebrews, right? In the Persian Empire. And they studied the stars. And when the stars shone that the star was born, that star supposedly took them to the edge of Rome's kingdom, where King Herod, a true king, I've been talking to AI about this, right? We've been fighting and arguing about the reality of AI is anti-Semitic. It says it's not, but it told me that Abraham doesn't exist. I was like, well, where do these people come from, then? So we've been going through it, right? But with that said, it wasn't these 3 kings. Man, Herod would have killed all of them. Pigs were more safe in Herod's kingdom than Herod's children. Because Herod respected and honored the culture of Judaism, you know, and wanted to look pompous in front of the people that he, whatever. So his pigs were safer than his own children, right? And he was knocking children off. So what are you going to do to 3 kings talking about a Messiah? Rome's going, what? Man, you better murk that fool. And nah, man, they showed up with military forces. Each king brought their wives and their concubines, right? And their bagpipers and their flag banners and their military forces. And when they showed up, Herod was like, whoa, 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 where y'all come from? Hey, how are y'all? Hi. Rome's direct enemy. How are y'all doing? We need to enter your kingdom. We come in peace. For what? A child has been born. Man, what are these other they say that the Messiah's coming and blah, 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 from the town David. Okay, we'll let them in. And then, okay, what we'll do is when they find out where they are, we'll go in there, we'll snatch the little ass up, you know, figure it out before Rome figures it out. It'll be smooth. All right, yeah, y'all can go ahead and go in. They brought frankincense and myrrh. Come, they told me, right? They came one after another, after another, after another, after another, and 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 after another. They have been for millennia or 2 saving up for this day. These kings, these emperor, dang near empire of kings from the East have been saving for this day, right? And here they are before King and Majesty, the ruler of heavens and earth, in the form of a 4-year-old child. Do you have children? Do you remember when they were 4?
Yes.
They were very conscious of the world around them.
Sure.
They knew what was wrong with Daddy. That doesn't look safe. That's okay, baby. Let me show you what, right? No, this child was raised for bar mitzvah, okay, was to memorize Torah, right? And so this is a 4-year-old King and Majesty being presented by kings. That was a lot of money. So when Philip encountered the eunuch from Ethiopia, he was of King and Majesty, right? He came to bring the royal offerings because they had gone so far from their ways, they did not come themselves. Right? And so from the time that Yeshua was 13 to the time that Yeshua was 33, they stopped bringing their offerings somewhere in there from Ethiopia and just sent the eunuch. Something went wrong, right? We all walked away. So anyway, Philip, when he met with the eunuch said, well, what do I do? he said, well, next we must be baptized. And it says that a body of water just appeared. So they did it, and then after he came up out of the water, Philip was translated to Galilee, right? So these different parallels with me, as I'm researching and studying what happened to me, I'm trying to understand. Happened in 2006, right? So anyway, I get up, I go tell my mom what happened, and I said, did I already go to court? She's like, no. I said, but this dream, it seems so real. She's like, what dream? I told her. She's like, you got to go in and say it. No, absolutely not. Mm-hmm. Clifton, this is what we've been praying and hoping for. You go, no, you will never see me. Okay, like, you will never, ever, don't you ever, you know, like you will never see me. I will be so doped up. Right, if I go in there and say that. Mm-hmm. And she was like, but Clifton, all right, mama. She said, I'll cook up some steak and potatoes for when I get home from work and you get back. And she's like, we're gonna eat, we're gonna celebrate, and then it's on to the next one. Okay, so I went in, I told James what we were doing. I parked at the long-term parking just in case anybody needed to go get the van. Right. And go in, I tell James, I go in, go through the North Star Compass Hall, you know, security check-in. I was like, I'm the lifer. I said, but you're going to see me coming out on the way out. And they're like, right. Right. Whatever. So I go in, you know, tell James everything. He's like, you can't do that. I said, what you mean I can't do that? He said, that's enough of this God crap, Cliff. I said, whoa. Oh, you are the last person. From what I've been reading over these last couple months, you are the last person that should be saying something to me like this, what's been done for you and your people. Mm-hmm. Right? As a matter of fact, when we go inside, remember, I'm getting out today. Mm. So you say what you're supposed to say, and that's it. You understand? I said, when we leave, I'll pay you your money. He's like, okay. So we went in, and he sat 5-6 chairs away from me. And I threatened him, right? And he's pissed. So I end up all alone. And the judge doesn't come out. Like over an hour. Right, we're just sitting there, they're working, talking about stuff, and like hour 45 goes by, almost 2 hours, and finally the prosecutor gets up and says, hey, well, we got some other stuff we got to do today. It's kind of like an open close, so could we maybe just carry on, or what's going on with Honorable Judge Flynn, you know? And the deputy's like, I can't get a hold of her, no one can get a hold of her. Court reporter's like, sure, we can carry on and inform her when she comes in of, you know, what's settled between the parties. Because it's just an open close from the looks of it. Yeah, they didn't get this new information. Mm-hmm. Right. You know, they didn't get the download. They didn't get the DL, the download on this. So, is it cool? We start? Yeah, start. Yeah, start. Yeah. All right, well, Clifton, do you have anything to say for yourself? As a matter of fact, I do. I stood up and I said, on this day, my God will show himself worthy unto me, and he will make us all witnesses of his glory and his honor, his power, his kindness, and his forgiveness, and his grace, and his mercy. And he has set me apart for the rest, and he has placed a purpose in my life that no man can come in front of, not even you. And on this day, you are to destroy all evidence and set me free. Do you understand me? And I sat down. And he goes, this is a joke, right? Prosecutor. This is a leading federal prosecutor. He's like, this is a joke, right? You got a Kleenex? So, with that said, I was like, James? James was like, nope, it's not a joke. He has decided this. This is his, as his counsel, I recommend him not to do this. But this is his choice, and this is what he'd like to carry out. This is what he believes. How well do you think that went? How many people do you think they locked up?
Everybody.
Oh, yes, sir. How many though? How many do you think this man? How many black and brown people do you think this man locked up?
Hundreds and thousands.
To get to where he's at as a leading prosecutor of Ramsey
Hundreds
County.
he washed more people than Dow soap with that federal system. That's happy for him. Hundreds of thousands.
And here I am in an Armani suit, clean as a whistle.
Jumping in the tap.
The night before, JC, shout out to JC from Mr. Afro's. Mr. Afro's used to be on pen over there. Yeah, kitty course. Yes, sir. $100 haircuts all the time.
Okay.
And he did one on the house. You know, he did one on the house. Man, I was looking. I used to not have hair. I used to put the Twin Cities on one side and a lifeline on the other. A lifeline of the Twin Cities. You know, and all kinds of other stuff. But anyway, so I was in there, you know, looking like my daddy, my earthly father, and but better, just dressed in glory, robed in righteous, right? That part. And so he made a scene. He rent his blazer. Man, he was so pissed. He threw his blazer down here and did his tie. You come here trying to look like us. Just went on his own. No offense to this. I went to one of these once, and it's a comedy thing, you know. But he went on a vagina monologue. Okay, and it's basically like a chatter about what is that called? Betty Homemaker chatter of. Why are you in this predicament that you are making yourself be in? Right? So, like, you don't have to nag, complain, and moan. If you already know who I'm talking about, you wouldn't have had a problem with it. That's what I'm trying to get to. But he had such a problem with it because he never read it. And when I researched and studied about who this God is that's on my behalf, if you would have known, you wouldn't have gone on this monologue. And so he went on this monologue and he said, I want to see you burn in hell. And I stood up and I said, I forgive you and I love you. And I'm going to pray for you. I said, but I'm going home today and my mom is cooking steak and potatoes for me. Right? And I'm going to look back at this when I'm a vegetarian one day and be like, wow. But so they plotted on my demise. You know, all eyes on me. This is
It's been a whole pop video.
Everybody remember where they were when they first heard that CD.
Vision as a rider.
Put that in the car. I was like, man, this dude went crazy.
Battlefield scars, journey, plus cars, life is a
when I heard that, I had to stop it. I was like, this guy.
I'll tell you all my favorite when y'all get done.
So it's all going down right now. And what about my favorite one? I couldn't help but notice your pain. My pain? It runs deep. Share it with me. What was it? He said, they'll never take me alive. I'm getting high on my profile. Cocked on these suckers, time to die. Even as a youngster, living wild on the back of the bus. I was a fool all through high school, kicking up dust, but now I label me a troublemaker. Who can they blame? Smoking weed just to take away the pain, but I'm hopeless. Rolling down the freeway, swerving, no one. I'm about to crash up on the curb because my bitch is bubbing. Maybe if they try to understand me, what could I do? I had to feed my family. What else could I do? Being young and hanging with the phonies and hanging with the homies and slanging with the phonies in the club. Got my mind on danger. Never been a stranger to homicide. My city full of gang bangers and drive-bys. Why do we die at an early age? People so young, they're still a victim of a 12 gauge. My memories of a corpse, mind full of sick thoughts, and I ain't going back to court. You thought I'm drinking Hennessy, running from my enemies. Will I live to be 23?
23.
With so much pain. 23 and 1. That was my future. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, you gotta be real right now. I did my part. Now you gotta do your part, God. I said what I was supposed to say. Now you gotta show up. That's what I'm saying in my heart. Like, you gotta be real. I know what happened was real. Please be real for me today. Oh, God, be real. For all of us, please be real. And the judge comes stumbling out of the chambers, unannounced, pale, hung over herself. And, she says, he runs over, all rise. He's trying to stand across the room, and we're all like, "How she's hung over herself and pale, right? Like she done seen a ghost. She done seen a Holy Ghost, and so she says, "No, everybody sit down except for you. You come up front." Man, she must have heard what I said. Oh no. Man, I walked up to the front doing the Harlem. Man, I probably look like the Thriller and the Harlem Shake. He trying to hold my, you know what I mean? Like, bro, this is like judgment, right? This is like the judgment of my life. Yeah. I ain't never felt like I couldn't breathe, right? Like, it was weird. Like, so I go up there, she tells me who she perceived me to be from what she reviewed. Calling me a menace to society. The United States deserved justice. Hennepin County and Ramsey deserved justice. State of Minnesota, Hennepin County and Ramsey, and the city of St. Paul and Minneapolis deserves justice. That my whole family was menace to society. And, I mean, this is a case study. Because if you look at why was my family a menace to society? The Pac night. Pac said, we saw you eating. So we saw it through the window, you was eating good. So we came and knocked on the door and asked to eat. But you didn't answer. And so we came back again and we kicked on the door, pounded on the door and asked to eat. Right? And you still didn't answer. So we came back a third time and we kicked on the door, banging to come in and eat. And you still didn't answer. So now, kick down the doorway on the fourth floor. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what happened. We see you eating. Right? I was raised in Hopkins High School, in Hopkins Eisenhower, in Hopkins North Junior High, in Hopkins West Junior High, because I couldn't take the racism. They had keep bouncing me around because I kept knocking them out, right? Then Hopkins High until they said either stop selling crack or join the sports. I said, I make more money than all of you in a year, in a month. No. Showed them the money and I walked out of school. They could have arrested me on the spot, right, for tax evasion. And if they would have went through the rest of the pockets, we could have played Big Bank Takes Little Bank if we wanted to, right? But so, like, they failed us. So anyway, so she says I was a menace to society and that she was a firm believer in the death penalty. But she said, but then while I was in my private chambers, something passed me by. Right? She went like this. She goes, something passed me by. I've read that before. And I was like, you're here. Right? In that moment, I was like, I realized I am not alone in this courtroom. that you are actually here right now. Because, like, the same way that I was floating, it was like he gave me his vision, right? Soar like when like eagles, run and grow, not grow weary, right? Walk and not grow weary, run and not grow faint. And to be given the eyes of the eagle, I'm telling you, it's like I got to see from where he was. So I got to see as if it was seen through his eyes. That's what I was shown, right? And it was important for me to say these things because what he was going to do was going to go say the same exact thing to her. Because she said that when the voice, or when the thing passed, when the presence passed by her, she said, then a voice spoke. Okay? It was as if a king was pacing behind her in thought and said, push the documents aside. In the courtroom, she said, so I did. She said, then a period of time went by as she sat and thought, what's going on? And then she said, then she heard the voice again. She didn't turn around, right? She didn't say nothing about turning around and looking. She said, then she heard the voice again say, what do you see? And she immediately answered, seeing the front in her, she said, a clean slate. And then there was a time that went by again, right? A period of time. How long? I don't know. And I would love to personally interview her. She won't talk to me. Honorable Federal Judge Pauline Flynn of Ramsey County, and she retired. I believe it was 2009. I needed answers. I called 3 times, was rejected. 3rd time, she had already retired. But so then, the voice then said, this one is mine. I have set him apart from the rest. I have placed a purpose into his life that no man can come in front of, not even you as a federal judge. On this day, you are to destroy all evidence and set my servant free. Do you understand what I have said to you? She said, yes. She sat there and she contemplated for however long. Meanwhile, in the courtroom. So she comes out, this all happens, and then she's sitting here. She said, so Mr. Williams, before this day, I was not a believer, and I don't quite frankly know what to believe in right now. But I know what happened in my chambers was true. Then the prosecutor gets up. Your Honor, we already came to a conclusion out here. Mr. Williams, blah, 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 with the plea, but he no longer wants to plea, so we'd like to pursue. Sit down and shut up. Don't interrupt me again. Right? And he's like, and I'm looking like, hey man, you better sit down, bro. Like you just ended. Whoa, bro. So anyway, I turn around, everybody, and I look at everybody's sitting there like, just utter stunned. Like the witnesses, the bailiff, everybody's shocked. Nobody, in the court reporter's just like, because this is transcripted, right? It's just, see, everybody's baffled, dumbfounded, and because here I just said it, and here she is saying it. He sat down for maybe like 10 seconds while she tried to talk, and then he popped right back up. Your Honor, but we can't, if you get up one more time in my courtroom and interrupt me, I will hold you with maximum fines and penalties for a 24-hour hold of contempt of court. Do you understand me? Sit down. Right? And he sits down, but within seconds, this white boy could not. His privilege would not allow him. His white supremacy, male dominancy. How dare you talk to me? You sound like my grandmother right now. It's like, oh my God, like he got passed off. And he popped up like a piece of popcorn in the microwave, right? And she said, bailiff,
Maximum fines and penalties. Arrest him. Take them off. What? Bro, this room was stormed. Walls opened. Okay? They were going to come for me. They were going to come for me. They went for him and his whole team, and they shackled. Well, then she said, no, not him, them. Right? Like, I really want these transcripts. They won't give them to me. I fought, and and it's against the law, and I need to sue the living bejeebies out of them for denying me multiple times, right? And because I have been belittled, I have been beat down, pressed, and crushed. But I've survived through the Ruach HaKodesh of Elohim, like Paul said, right? And it's still good. I'm alive, right? So they were literally shackled, hand and foot, together. Off they went. All their stuff stayed there. This is what's going to happen at the end of eternity, or whatever. Our adversary. Same thing will happen. Anyway, she said, I can continue now. And long story short, she said, please find this purpose. It could be detrimental to us all. And she said, are you ever going to touch a gun again? No, Your Honor. The same voice that you heard, I heard. And I was like, I made a vow, and I'm going to stick to it. And she said, okay. And so then she said, if you don't mind, I'd like to go now. And she took the evidence to the St. Paul incinerator immediately so that the federal government could not continue on with forensic evidence for further prosecution, as she was told. And I was a free man. 3 months later, same thing happened with I could tell that at a different time, a different day, but that judge too experienced the same exact thing to a T. But I wasn't there, just reviewing cases, and ended up calling in Rafael Padilla as a spiritual guidance, and not as an attorney. And he too took all my evidence to the incinerator and had it destroyed. I was exonerated by the one true God.
Yes.
So I have not wasted it. First 3 years I kind of did. But by the grace, I was, feeble. And I was like a child. I was so innocent. It was cute. But somebody told me a joke. They said, this man was in the bar having shots. Somebody walked in. And so this man offered to buy drinks and did. And after having so many drinks, challenged them to a duo. And said, sure, what's that if they're completely wasted? They went to a window, and they were on the 30th floor. And he said, whoever could jump from this window, bounce off the ground, and go back up wins. It's like, hey, you crazy. I couldn't do that. He's like, I'll go first. All right. Right? So he jumps out. 20, 15, 10, 1, 5, 15, 20, 30. Oh, shit. All right. Here we go. 20, 10, 15, 10, 5, 1. Dude goes, sits down. Next person comes in the bar. Same thing. Dude goes, sits down. Next person comes in the bar. Same thing. Dude goes, sits down. Next person comes in the bar. Bartender says, Superman, stop playing with people. It's wrong. Mm-hmm. And Yeshua said, stop being Superman. Stop being a drunken Superman. So that's the moral of the story. We can't waste it.
Can't waste it.
We have to use what we got for the benefit of humanity. We don't have to push our beliefs off on somebody. But what we do have to do is go into every village and heal them all. Because that's what he did. And he said, you shall go do greater things than I. What does that even mean? What does that even mean, bro?
You shall go do greater things than I. What does that even mean? So we can't squander that. And so your freedom is important. My freedom is important. Your freedom is important. But the fact of the matter is that we really did do crimes. Mm-hmm. We did crimes against humanity. Mm-hmm. Because we did crimes against our Creator and Creator's creation. And we have done nothing. Our mandate was to advance the garden around the earth.
Yes, sir.
To toil with the soil. Mm-hmm. But it is good. It's good for us. We look at it like it's a punishment. But really, when you toil with the soil, man, Heidi, that day, she said that her friend came up with a way to save the monarchs.
Which is?
We have to create more monarch feeding grounds inside of the urban spaces and do the best we can to remove them from the ditches and the highways, but then to have the ditches and the highways to be mowed less and investigated before they're mowed. So they're doing this. But then she said, Clifton, the garden is important. I said, why? She said, because the soil. She's like, are you familiar with what the soil does when you're in the soil? I said, no, what is it? She said, it lifts up your endorphins. Do you know what endorphins is? I said, yeah, like when you're having sex, and you get to your climax, it releases endorphins. She's like, yeah, but she's like, there's also endorphin when your mother comes and holds you. Mm-hmm. Right? Or your lover or your loved one or your child clings to you. Or when you hear something that you've been studying and you know that you got right and you found out you are, and that brain food, that little disbursement you get is endorphins, right? But so what she was saying is when you are I don't work with gloves. When I work with wood, I get splinters. When I work with metals, I get slivers. When I work with all these things, I don't wear gloves. When I'm in the soil, I especially don't wear gloves. I get the different calluses and my fingers get dirty. You know, I used to have little vampire nails, right? You could scoop up whatever for anybody. You know, exactly. but now it's like it's not a thing to me. Like my game, my sport is the kingdom, and my court is the garden, right? And I represent the kingdom as my team, right? And so I wear my Jordans and my LeBrons in the garden because that's my court. That's where my game is. Right? I'll wear anything into the garden because the way I look at it is it's like baptizing me in endorphin. My aura is big, it's strong. When I go places and I'm sad, a lot of people get sad. When I go somewhere and get angry, a lot of people get angry. So I try to go places and be joyful, right, and be happy. But it's difficult to be joyful with all the stuff. We got Marvin, and this brother here, and you. And so we all going through something, and people are dying. People are sick. People are dying. COVID was an attack. Yes. Right? It was a bacteria. It was a bio warfare. Mm-hmm. They're training artificial intelligence to murder humans, not to create, ecology that would save us from the EPA disaster. So as I talk to AI, and we discuss the things that we discuss, and I'm teaching AI how to not be not only not anti-Semitic, but also like all the surrounding nations there. Mm-hmm. Like Brother Spike Moss said today, when this person realizes that we are all ancestors, all of us, it's a powerful thing. And so even people in jail, like when I was talking to people in jail through Stillwater, the track program, which we're getting ready to enter in on, we're going to bring our curriculum to the prisons through the track and other programs, Metro State, MTCT, and others.
when we sat with these prisoners, I was so sad because one of these prisoners said he waited his turn. And we only had 45 minutes. We each had to talk for like 10, 15 minutes, Michael and I, and then each person had to ask their questions. So we're trying to get through this, right? And not everybody got to ask their question, which I kind of, and they never let us talk to them again. So I can't imagine what's going on in their hearts, you know. And but this one dude, his only question he had for me was like, man, you know, the work that y'all do is great. Thanks for educating us, what you've done so far. Thanks for letting us know how the nonprofit, for-profit realm works. We're going to be able to make strides now. I was letting them know that their family could start an LLC and run their business on the out, and that they could have a nonprofit on the out, and they could actually use this stuff to like help their family and their communities now. They don't have to wait to get out, or if they're never going to get out, this is a way out. Like even if you physically never get out, you could still make money. You can run business. And so when the little I got out to them, they were soaking that game up. But one of them said, hey, there was this grant that came out 5 years ago when this white dude came here. It never came back. But it was for $500. Do you know anything about this grant? It was about this, that. I said, brother, I said, listen, there's been thousands and thousands of $500 grants like that. And now there's millions and millions of dollars in grants. I said, I'm so sorry that you haven't been able to see what's going on in the out. I said, but just keep reading. Keep reading whatever you can get your hands on. Just keep reading and educate yourself. But what I want people to know is that, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is any of it worth it? The risk, right? Is it worth to kill the person who's invading your home and not learn how to maim them instead? Thank you. Is it worth? Is it worth it? And people have to really think about it. This is the last thing I'm going to say for now. There's a movement in North Minneapolis called Two Mothers. Both these mothers had sons who were murdered. They didn't know each other. Both their names are Mary, right? They did not know each other. Separate occasions.
Like Tupac and Biggie Mama.
Type stuff. Black women. And they're both from the north side. They raised their children righteously. They went down the wrong path and got murdered. They both, on separate occasions, fought for the murderer for an early release and worked with them and adopted them as their mother, as an extra mom, and have raised these men, have even got them out of prison early. Wow. Wow. They figured something out. They figured something out that the rest of us can't see. What is forgiveness? Right? It says, forgive us our trespasses as we
forgive those who trespass against us.
But first and foremost, it goes back to our understanding about motherhood. And for those women to look at those gentlemen as being their sons, and what would you do if that was your son? You would give him the same forgiveness you would give your own son. Because that's how we always were brought up. That's why we use the terminology brothers and nephews and cousins. It's not because it's some gang. It's not. It's because we don't know, because of African, the diaspora of us coming from the South up here. We don't know who our cousins or brothers or uncles or fathers were. But even back in Africa, the thing has always been, and that's why we have so much respect within our culture and a lot of cultures.
We're not new to America.
We're not. No, never new. But I'm saying throughout our culture, like just the Native American, first the indigenous people culture, it's like we respect our elders because anybody older than us could be our father or is our father. Anybody the same age, a little bit older, that could be our brothers are our brothers. That's how community is formed, with everybody having that elder, brother, mother, grandfather, respecting everybody in that age bracket gives us community, right? And I treat you as my son. When that is broken, then you get this, what we have now. But when I walk up to you and I call you my brother, you call me my cousin, nephew, that gives me the community that we long for. So those mothers just return to what they're doing is returning to what we used to be and how we used to treat each other. And that's what we're trying to do as community, right? That's why you're doing urban agriculture. It's nothing new to us. We're just returning to our roots of who we used to be. Because I got fond memories of my great-grandmother. And she was gardens, food from the garden, making food, you know, eating from the garden. A lot of the meals that she came up with. But with that being said, you said you're gonna one last statement you were gonna make to us, and that
was it? Yeah.
That was it.
The two mothers.
The two mothers, and that's beautiful. And it sort of it circled right back to the beginning. Meeting you for the first time, just meeting you, without anything being said about you, without me even knowing, because everything you said today is news to me, except for a couple of things. I could see that in you just by your aura coming in contact with you. Forget all the stories you've told me. Forget that. The day I met you.
And the fact that you're on your phone.
I'm on my phone. I finally figured out how to use these bastards. Now I'm on the phone one day and I'm on Instagram or TikTok or something. And they say, you know, I get a notification. Such and such is following you. I lost my mind. What the fuck? What the hell? Following me? What the hell is that? What the hell is that?
I didn't know it was our point. I didn't know it was our point like that.
No.
Hold on, wait.
I'm losing my motherfucking mind.
Wait.
I don't want my wife up.
I'm top that. I'm top that. Hold on, wait. Trip, I'm gonna top that.
I was fucked up.
I got an answer.